Hey everyone, today I will be teaching you how to 10x your business as a financial advisor. If you haven't watched my last video about how I made my first 100K commission in one single deal, I'll leave a link somewhere above for you to watch. I believe it'll be very helpful and insightful for you guys. And yeah, so let's get started. The secret to 10xing your business as a financial advisor is one thing: positioning. In our field, positioning is everything. How you position yourself in the market is the key to success. And I'll be teaching you the business model my mentor taught me. He's a TLT member. However, I'll be referencing my good friend Chris Stowe. He's a YouTuber, and in his video, he helps visualize this concept much better. He teaches business skills and strategies to the design industry. However, I'll be cross-referencing the design industry in this field in order to help explain it. So in one of his videos, he asked the students, when you feel sick or unwell, who do you go to? And the answer is the family doctor or the general physician, right? And then he asked them, do you guys know the business model or the steps that these family doctors follow? And the answer is they follow 5 crucial steps in their business. And the first step, what they do is diagnosis, right? They diagnose the patient. They ask lots of questions to find what the problem is. And then the second step is they test the hypothesis to see if it's correct. So they do some tests to see if the diagnosis is correct, right? And the third step, what they do is they prescribe a medicine or a treatment that will solve the problem. And the fourth step is they will refer you to a specialist, whether it is to a pharmacy or a specialist in a certain field, right? And the fifth step is the operation. It's when you go to the specialist and they do the operation for you, right? And then he asked the students, in the design field, which of these 5 steps is the most valuable? And the answer is the diagnosis, right? Because if you don't get the correct diagnosis, then all the steps wouldn't work. Like, you can't do operation if you don't know what the problem is, or if it's even the right operation, right? And then you can't refer to specialists, etc., right? So the diagnosis is the most important. So in the design world, the people who make the most money are the people who do strategy, whether it's brand strategy, design strategy, whatever. They find the problem and then they have the ability to find the solution, right? So then he asked the students, in the general industry of most designers, let's say, for example, web designers, where in these 5 steps do they usually operate? And the answer is they usually operate at the last section, which is the operations. This why? It's because by the time the clients come to them, the clients already self-diagnosed the problem, right? But the thing is, sometimes the client doesn't know how everything works and they do wrong diagnosis because they don't know what is the problem or they don't know what is the cure, right? So they come to these web designers looking for designs and they build a website. It may look great. However, if it's something that they didn't need for their business, then even if you build a great website, it wouldn't work, right? Maybe it was a marketing issue, maybe it's an operations issue, maybe it's a management issue, we don't know. So these web designers, they may service these clients. However, if they didn't solve the client's overall issue, then it didn't really help them in the first place. So the client won't feel that the work is valued, so they won't come back or they won't refer anyone to you, right? Because you didn't solve the problem. So I want to cross-reference this to the financial advisor industry is, let me ask you, which of these 5 steps do you operate at? Let me give you a quick example. I had a client that came to me a few years ago and he asked me to become a financial advisor because I'm his friend. And also I was like, okay. So I did my fact finding. I found his income, his expenses, what his current plans are, what his future goals are. And then one of the things that stood out to me was that he had a previous financial advisor at one of these big 5 banks. I won't name which one. And when he went there, he got referred to a financial advisor upstairs, and then he met up with them. And then the financial advisor was like, I recommend you to open a TFSA. And in order to open a TFSA, you need like a 2K deposit or something like that to open an account. And my client was like, he didn't know anything. And then he was like, okay. And he opened an account. And when I looked inside what was in his TFSA, it was I think 2 or 3 year GIC for a 23-year-old. Does that make sense to you? I don't know, man. Like, it's up to you to decide. So basically, the financial advisor at these banks is they sell all these products to the clients without first diagnosing what may be the overarching problem, right? Because some clients, maybe they have a taxation problem, sometimes they have a estate planning problem, sometimes they have a legal problem, right? They might need an accountant, they might need a lawyer, maybe they need a realtor, maybe even a trademark agent, right? You don't know what they need. So one thing you know is that most of the money in our industry is actually at the first step of diagnosis rather than at the last step. So the business model I use is similar to the one that the family doctor used. So when I meet up with my clients is that I always diagnose the problem. I collect all the information, I look at everything as a whole picture, and sometimes they don't need my service, sometimes they will need an accountant. For example, if a client is a dual Canadian-US citizen, you might need an accountant that specializes in that field. So what I do is I do my diagnosis and I test if I'm correct, and then I prescribe. For example, if my client is a dual US Canadian citizen, he might have some taxation issue because he's a cross-border citizen. So I will refer him to an accountant that specializes in this field. And I will collect a referral fee from the accountant, and then the accountant will solve my client's issue. And this is a win-win-win situation for all three of us because I make money and the accountant makes money and the client gets his problem solved, right? It's very simple. It might seem a little counterintuitive, but what I do is when I meet with my client is that I go in with the mindset that I will not sell him anything, or I will not try to sell him anything. Instead, when I go to a meeting, I clear my mind and my goal is to just listen and find out what the client's problems are. And then I diagnose what I think is the solution. And if I don't know, I'll leverage other advisors or specialists to see what their thoughts are. And then I will give the recommendation to the client. So I'll make money from referring clients to all these specialists. And in return, they will also refer me clients that they have, right? And the third thing is, the client will always come back to you whenever they have a problem because they know you are a person that can solve their problem. So the key is to position yourself as a financial advisor that can diagnose your problem and solve it, and instead of being a salesman and just pushing your products towards them, right? Because our goal is to help our clients. In the end, we need to put their best interests forward. So we need to keep and maintain a good relationship with them. Because if you realize is that as a financial advisor, our book of business is our clients. Our biggest asset is clients, right? So my job is that I want to be a connector that connects clients to different professionals that solve their problems. For example, my clients, maybe he needs investors, and then maybe I can find like different clients that want to invest in something, right? All right, and that's it for today's video. I hope this helps. And in my next video, I'll talk about the number one mistake that most financial advisors make in our industry. This is applicable to even the best of the advisors. So yeah, stay tuned for next week's video. I post every single week, and remember to subscribe and comment below if you have any questions. And yeah, have a good day.